Uncensored, no holds barred talk. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. This is the Global Reality Radio Network. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another live edition of the Global Reality right here on the Global Reality Radio Network with me, your host, Josh Reeves. Thanks for being here with us tonight for another late-night Moonbat edition of the broadcast. And, man, I apologize. In a way, I feel bad. In a way, I don't. I apologize that I keep you guys up so late. But at the same time, I appreciate you guys being Moonbatty and staying up with me. I just, man, I get into the research and I get into the work and get in this headspace like I was talking about last night, and then I have to, I go back into, the headspace of doing the show and stuff, and it's just, sometimes time just doesn't become a factor anymore. You know what I mean? It's kind of like you lose track of the concept of time a little bit. So, that's why I've been starting the shows later and stuff like that. How's the sound sounding tonight? Are we still sounding okay? Everything still sounding level and everything? Thanks to everybody in the chat room last night who helped me get that sorted out. I was just wondering if you guys if anything changed. I didn't touch anything, but that never means. Sometimes that doesn't mean anything. Sometimes I won't ever touch anything, and I'll come back and it'll be all fuckered up. So I don't know. It's just the way. That's just the way it is. All right, good. Thanks, man. I appreciate you guys letting me know there. Just want to make sure these, because we got it. Thanks to everybody in the chat room. We had a sound check last night before the show. I don't know if I mentioned this last night, but we had a sound check last night before the show, and a lot of the chatters in there, Nikola Tesla and John Doe and everybody else were helping out to get the sound balance. Because I've had people saying the sound's been balanced, and I apologize for that. I know the sound quality's gotten bad over the past couple of weeks or month or so, but what happened is that my tube preamp, I usually use a tube preamp, and I really miss the tube preamp sound. It just doesn't give my voice the balls that it needs. But I'd gotten this preamp that I had wanted for some time. It's not a tube preamp, but it's like based on a Navy preamp design. But I think it's more for like sound, recording instruments and stuff like that. But it's very clean. That's the thing I like about it. There's no. I used to get all these weird noises and shit with the other, I guess because it's tubes and, I'd get, weird sounds like that. Now it's absolutely clean. There's no sound to it. It just doesn't have that warmth or that punch, that balls that the tube has. I think if I ever have the money, they're like $200. Might actually get one to use in tandem with this other one that I got, because this one just sounds really good and it's clean. I like the options that it has. It sounds really good. I think especially for voiceovers, I've noticed some of the voiceover stuff I've worked on. I haven't done a lot yet, but I've done some stuff, and it sounds really good for that. But anyway, thanks for being here with us tonight. TheGlobalReality.com is my website. That's TheGlobalReality.com. And there at the website, you'll find all things pertaining to my work, the films, the archive shows on the radio show, video clips that are some of the stuff that I've done. Many films I've done as well, like the Reality of Illusion series. By the way, be on the lookout in the next few days for a new installment of the Reality of Illusion series. We're going to be coming out with that sometime in the next few days, and or maybe even over the weekend. I'm not really for sure yet. And then also, hopefully, tentatively, everything goes according to plan. There are no snags, and I don't have to spend the rest of my time worrying about getting the rest of the operating costs covered for the month. Then I'll also be able to get a trailer out for the new film, The Lost Secrets of Ancient America Part 1. So I'm hoping to have all of that stuff out, both the Reality of Illusion series, new installment of that, and a trailer for the new film as well in the next, between now and like Tuesday. So be on the lookout for that. Also, we, like I said yesterday, we did get some support towards our goal for the month. Thank you so much, everybody. We got more in one day than we got all the rest of the month so far. We need about 200 more by tomorrow, and then the rest of the way by Monday. So if you can help us out and you haven't helped us out yet, please do so we can get everything we need to get taken care of here, so I can continue, like I said, continue on doing what I'm doing here, working on these projects. I've been trying to accelerate the amount of films that I've been putting out since The Sing Right 2. And so kind of where I'm at right now in my work is kind of that continuation of that idea of, that was one of our listeners that suggested that, Scott, the suggestion of, pulling me out multiple things, which it's actually possible for me to do that now because, I have the computer to be able to do it now. We were talking about that in the chat room earlier. It's just, no matter, you can spend all the money there is in the world to spend on PCs, and you're just getting inferior product because, most of the PCs run on Windows, and because of Bill Gates horse shit, you have to learn all these certifications to be able to even write any kind of software, and then you don't even know if it'll even work. So it's a lot easier to develop higher quality stuff on Macs because of that. And that is reflected in the quality. The ability, now, I can just do things so much faster now. The productivity for me has gone up. It's actually fun. You wouldn't even believe, I wouldn't believe I'd ever say this before. It used to be the most goddamn tedious, like picking your fucking nut hairs out with a goddamn, electromagnet or something. I don't know. It's the most tedious, time-consuming bullshit you wouldn't really enjoy. It was really the part of making films that I hated the most. Now it's my favorite part because now I have the technology, Final Cut Pro and all this. I have the pro type of stuff to be able to be creative in what I'm doing, and it's efficient and it's fast, and you're not sitting there you're spending your time waiting on stuff all day most of the time. Sometimes you do, depending on what it is exactly you're doing. But it definitely it allows the productivity to go up. But I want to put out more films and stuff like that. This is for me, putting out, a Reality of Illusion series film, a trailer, and then, 2 months from now or so. Yeah, 2 months from now, putting out, the full film, the new film. That's quite a big step forward from what used to be, hours on a PC watching fucking grass grow. Tedious stuff. We didn't get a chance to get into news last night because I had some emails and stuff like that, and didn't kind of feel like covering that. There was some pretty important stuff last night I didn't cover, so we're going to get into all that here tonight on the show. I don't really have any emails. Last night I did say that if I hadn't gotten to your email to send one, send it back, and I would cover it. And some person did indeed do that. And thank you. I think it was Daniel. Yeah, thank you, Daniel, for sending that email back. I saw it initially when you sent it, and somehow it got lost in the shuffle. So that's I guess that's apparently what happened there. It is a good question, though. But anyway, Global Reality Show at gmail.com is my email address. It's Global Reality Show at gmail.com. Anytime you want to send in anything, questions, comments, anything about the show, anything you want to have me ask, or, maybe you want to get my take on something, hey, feel free to shoot me an email, globalrealityshow@gmail.com. It's a way you can be involved with the show and be interactive with the show, and I can, put it out there for the audience, and people love the emails. They really enjoy, those of you who send emails, I'd like you to know, in case you don't know this, that the people who listen to the show, who listen to the emails that I read of yours, they really enjoy them. So please, always continue to send those. Daniel says, hey, Josh, you have done a great job exposing many Alex Jones guests as being members or in some way connected to the CMP. Do you think that all his regular guests are given a script or told what they can or cannot talk about, or do they just engage in self-censorship with any views that might go against the InfoWar commandments? Well, I can tell you from people that I've talked to who have been on his show and who were going to be on his show, multiple different people that I've talked to about this, it's not so much that they're given a script, but yeah, there's like a briefing or a screening that goes on with the guest beforehand, and there's sort of a list that they go over of areas that they don't go to. We don't go here, we don't talk about this, and if you do go there, he'll get mad and he'll kick your ass off and never come back. He's told multiple filmmakers, including Chris Everard and several other people, that he needed $3,000 up front, cash money, to be able to go on his show to promote their videos. And so, yeah, I mean, I think there is. I don't think per se they're given a script, but I think they're, from what I understand, from what I've been told by people who've been on his show. I've talked to people several people who've been on his show who've said that, they kind of tell you where you can go and where you can't. And yes, I think a lot of the people do engage in self-censorship because there is that thing where, they want to have the stamp, the stamp of approval of the almighty big enchilada. Example, someone like Webster Tarpley will criticize Ron Paul or Tex Mars. We'll talk about the Jew World Order on another radio program, but with Jonesy, they won't discuss such topics. Yeah, there you go. Also, sometimes AJ will have on a new guest, and when they seem to go off the plantation, Alex will gatekeep and talk. Yeah, I've heard him do that a million times, and talk over them or dismiss what they have to say if it doesn't fit in the parameters of what he stays in. Yep, well, that's he's been doing that forever. Sure miss your once-a-month spots on Lee Rogers' show, as there are some of my favorites. Hope you'll be on again soon. Cheers, Daniel. Thanks, Daniel. I appreciate that. Starts going on the Lee Rogers show. He'd asked me, I think, a couple of months ago to go on there again and stuff like that. I really, honestly, I don't know how Lee Rogers feels about me, and honestly, I have no ill will towards him or anything like that. I've heard stuff that from listeners that he's made reference to me on his show without saying my name in some sort of hateful way. I don't know if that's true or not. I'm not going off that, but I'm just saying I personally have nothing against Lee Rogers at all. I consider him a brother, and I wish him all the best in his life and in his adventures and what he does. But no offense to him, but I'm not going to go on any more shows on the Oracle Broadcasting Network. I left that network in 2009 because I didn't like where it was going, and it has since gone into a level of depravity that even I couldn't have predicted. So I'm not going to be defaming my good name and my work anymore by going on that network. And that's nothing against Lee Rogers at all, but everybody else over there at that operation, I'm just, I'm just not going to do it. So I've not really ever publicly come out and said that, but Daniel, you asked a question, so, I gave you an honest answer there. I've enjoyed all the shows I did with Lee Rogers. I hope to do more radio again with him in the future. We'll see. And I'm definitely not beyond that. But on a different platform, I asked Lee to come on here a while back, and he said he'd do it, and I just got busy and didn't have a chance to get him on here to do it because I've been busy doing this other stuff and wondering if we were going to have enough money to stay alive. And then I had the trip to go to town to shoot for the new film. But, that's really kind of the status on that. I'm just, I'm not going to, I'm just not going to go on that network anymore. That's just it. There you go. So thank you, Daniel. I'm sorry that I missed your email the first go around, my friend, but I'm glad I was able to get to that and answer your questions. Great questions, Daniel. Please send me more emails in the future. I enjoyed that. Let me see. Man, we got so much to get into here tonight. I don't know where to start because a lot of stuff's been piling up on me all week. I'm just going to start here, and I'll go ahead and also, by starting here, let you know what the content of the newest installment of the Reality of Illusion series is going to be about. I've covered these stories over the past several years. I guess I've covered these stories the whole time I've been doing radio. And time and time again, we see these anomalous objects, and we've had multiple of these around the sun. And I've speculated and postulated here on this broadcast for quite some time that something is going on with our sun, and that this something that is going on with our sun is cyclical. It's happened before. It's happened in the past. The ancients knew about it. And what's insane about this is that I'm starting to find in this research for the new film, The Lost Secrets of Ancient America, all of these mounds have some sort of alignment. They all have an alignment. They all have alignments, the equinoxes, the solstices, all that stuff. And, it's really got me wondering, especially when you think about the importance of these alignments to these ancient people, of these mounds, and the fact that they're elevating themselves up in the air off of the ground. They're aligning these to the equinox, the solstice. And all of these, different peoples have stories of, they're, like in Moundville, Alabama, where I went, they spend hundreds of years building these mounds, and when they get them completed, all the people living there disappear. And their whole culture, they know that their whole culture was based on going through some sort of a stargate and going into the spirit world that's they believe was located in the Orion system. Now, what's interesting about the Orion system is that there's a big, gigantic pocket of gas there that is essentially a womb for the breeding and birthing of stars. And it just spits out stars constantly. And when you look at I think a lot of it some of it's been true to a certain extent, some of it hasn't. But when you look at how a lot of these ancients were said to be sun worshipers, and then you see the alignments, it does make you wonder if these alignments that happen with cyclical events of the sun through the energy or the electromagnetic anomalies that the sun throws out and affects Earth. That's why we're seeing all these fireballs and meteors and all this stuff streaking across the sky everywhere. Because the sun apparently, and I believe, and what a lot of people out there believe, is that the sun is going through a pole shift. a flipping of the pole of the magnetic poles of the sun, which absolutely happens on a cyclical basis. It's happened before. It's happening. Apparently, it seems to be happening now. And one of the things that they say happens during a magnetic pole shift of the sun is that the electromagnetic pull of the sun starts to pull in meteors, asteroids, all that stuff that come by it. And then because it's the flipping motion of it, you know how you take one magnet, take the other end of it, and put it in they repel each other, right? Well, same principle here. And you know that repulsion force that you feel when you put two magnets together? Same thing. But that repulsion force is throwing out all the comets and rocks and meteors that the electromagnetic force is pulling in, and it's launching that stuff straight at Earth. So we're getting hammered with mass amounts of these rocks right now because the sun is going through this big shift. And what I believe, and what I'm going to try to show and explain in this film, is that the ancients knew of this, and that there's a possibility that these ancient sites that are set up and aligned to these events like the solstice and the equinox, that they knew something about the cyclical events of the sun that caused the frequency and vibrations of these sites to raise to such a point that they, I don't know, either ascended or went through a stargate or something, or went through a portal, possibly. But as I was talking about last night, I mean, you know, I've never been one to be into this, you know, the messianic return stuff, but Jeebus Cripes. But I mean, we got all the signs of Quetzalcoatl returning. I mean, it's mind blowing. And then you look at what the sun is doing, and we've seen these multiple anomalous objects around the sun. We've had 4 or 5 stories. Remember, just last month we had the story of the little umbilical cord thing with like the little Death Star, and it was looked like it was sucking something out of the sun. I mean, there's a possibility that could be a miniature black hole. Because back in 2008, when they first fired up CERN, 50 of the top physicists in Europe said that the biggest concern and why they were scared of firing up CERN was the things that would happen years down the road. They said, for instance, there is technical data to show that micro black holes could open up years down the road after the first firing up of CERN, and that if they were, that we wouldn't see the effects of these micro black holes until sometime around 2012. And that's kind of like what that looks like on that from that video from last month. It looks like it's a miniature black hole, and just like water going down a drain when there's a vacuum sucking it down. It looks like a spout. And what about those tornadoes that we saw that they came out with? Remember that like a couple weeks ago? Tornadoes on the sun. They made it out to be some kind of natural phenomenon. Well, what if those tornadoes, those spiral effects, are the same thing? The sun's mass being sucked into a miniature black hole. Either by design or by accident, and for whatever reason, either jumpstart the sun or slow it down and create a black hole out of it. One or the other, I don't know. But something's going on with the sun, and this new picture they've caught, this thing looks like a Klingon bird of prey. This is just insane. Somebody putting together a video of this stuff. I think something's absolutely going on with the sun. I think we're absolutely going to see effects of it this year. I think we already are with the weather. I think we've been seeing the effects of this for quite some time now. There was almost no winter around the world this year. Almost nowhere in the world did anyone have any winter. We went do not pass, go, do not collect $200 from having cold temperatures but no snow and ice or any of that stuff here in Dallas this year, directly into no spring, nothing like that, direct into full-blown summer mode. It was in the 90s today, and they're chemtrailing the hell out of us here, and everybody's got allergies and respiratory infections. It's unbelievable. What's even more unbelievable is this goddamn Klingon bird of prey. I mean, literally, we talked. We made all those Klingon jokes when we were reading all the Gods of Eden, and I dropped that link in the chat room. This is just unbelievable. A strange object flying close to the sun looks unnervingly like a huge metallic mothership, familiar from Hollywood blockbusters. The picture was released by NASA's Sun-Watching Solar and Heliospheric Observatory, known as SOHO, and has become an immediate cult hit on the internet. UFO fan site Gather News said an unusually shaped gigantic UFO was spotted on the Solar and Heliospheric Observatory, SOHO, and posted in a video on YouTube. The unidentified flying object, which bears no resemblance to anything ever spotted near the sun, somehow manages to withstand the blazing heat thrown off by solar flare activity and the incredible high temperatures emanating from nuclear fusion generated on the surface of this star. What is it? Asked the site. UFO fans on YouTube have been highly enthusiastic about the object, with many claiming it is a definite spot. SOHO, the Solar and Heliospheric Observatory, is a satellite built to study the sun and its deep core to the outer corona and the solar wind. SOHO was launched on December 2nd, 1995. The 12 instruments on board SOHO communicate with large radio dishes around the world, which from NASA's Deep Space Network are used for data downlink and commanding. The video shows what looks like a metallic jointed spaceship with a gigantic extension, perhaps a boom arm, anchored off its lower end. An enlargement of the object makes the enormously large UFO look like a ship straight out of a Hollywood movie. I took a screenshot and added light to it, and if you can see another part of the ship, it has another third arm that goes down. So strange. Keep up the great work, says one UFO fan. Others are more skeptical, claiming such artifacts are often the product of distortion. Yeah, that's what they always... every time there's an anomalous object, it's just distortion from the... They just always look like UFOs and objects like that. That's what distortion looks like. There seems to be some intelligent design involved. It's way beyond human engineering to create. And whether this is extraterrestrial or whether this is Earth, I mean, this could even be something of ours, of our very own, some secret project. I mean, there's no question. There's just absolutely no question that governments of the world and the elite at large have long-standing knowledge. It goes back to the ancients of these cyclical events of the sun. It's one of the key hidden tenets of the secret societies, the mystery religions, and governments as a whole throughout the world. So we know for a fact, and the evidence supports that fact, that they know of these cyclical events, which would stand to reason that any mitigation technology, which is to use their terminology, that they may have would also be a secret, right? Because they're not going to get on TV. I mean, it's going to be just like that Nicolas Cage movie, Knowing. They're not going to get on TV and tell you, the end of the world's coming, folks, and give you any time to prepare. They're not going to come. They're going to tell you anything until it's too late to do anything, because they want to make sure that they keep they can keep their thing intact for as long as they possibly can. So no, they're not going to give you any kind of a warning about anything like that happening. That's an absolute fact. But it does appear that they could indeed have this technology already out there to either, like I said before, I don't know which one it is. It's one or the other. It could be all one, especially with chemtrails and that whole thing. It could be one or the other. They could be trying to jumpstart the sun. I mean, you can watch that video. If you watch the video of the most recent object located there around the sun, I dropped the link in the chat room there. The Klingon bird of prey looking thing. You watch that video and you can see it shoot something out into the sun, and right when it shoots something into the sun, you see a massive sun flare. Massive solar flare, massive coronal ejection. So something is either trying to speed the sun up, kickstart it, jumpstart it, kickstart its heart, because it's slowing down and is threatening to cool Earth off and send us into a massive ice age, which could explain what the chemtrails are about and HARP and all this stuff. creating this artificial greenhouse effect, so the heat and radiation that we do get from the sun gets trapped down at the lower ground level, and then this is why we get ice caps melting and the rest of stuff. It very well could be that, but it could also be the opposite of that. It could also be that it's not getting colder, and we are in fact getting hotter, and the chemtrails and HARP have been to protect us and keep us from overheating. And they're trying to, they're sending probes and whatever they can, secret things that they're not going to tell us about because they don't want to alarm us and have complete societal upheaval. Even though on the one end, that's what they do want, is societal upheaval. But they only want societal upheaval if the societal upheaval is caused by them and their operations and serves their master plan. If societal upheaval occurs in any other way, shape, or form, or for any other reason other than that, then they're absolutely against it. You understand what kind of sickos we're dealing with here? That's what kind of control freak motherfuckers we're talking about. Yes, they want societal upheaval. Yes, they want that. But they want it on their terms. They want it in their way. They want it to happen that in a way that's according to their plan, you see. And everybody thinking that the sun is heating up or slowing down or cooling down or something. People are going to have a real problem getting up and going to work every day if they know that there's a possibility we all may be dead soon. And with good reason. So, as much as, or it could be aliens. I don't know. But see, I don't want to jump to that's what everybody, that's the expected thing to do. And that's what most people probably do in this situation. They see these orbs, they see these things around the sun. It's got to be aliens. Well, the fact of the matter is, again, as I talked about last night, you're dealing in these dualities when you don't have all the facts. You could say it's a possibility it could be extraterrestrials, but it's also a very distinct possibility it could be human-made things that they've done in secret. Think about, maybe that's why they've jacked gas prices up. Maybe that's why they've caused the economic crash, so they can get all of our money and all of our stuff funneled into funding these secret projects to keep us, keep their power structure in place. I mean, why do you think they're doing all this James Cameron asteroid mining stuff? You think they're doing this stuff really? I mean, yes, they are doing it for money and to bring, inject stuff into the economy. And yes, they're doing it for their own gain and the rest of it. But another thing I think also as well is that, they're also doing this to figure out how to mitigate asteroids. I think that's the other big advantage. These guys don't do anything unless it has a multi-tiered effect. Something they can do to get a multiple effect out of, a multiple goal accomplishment out of. And that certainly would do it. We do this as a front, to mine asteroids. We put Jim Cameron's name on it. Everybody thinks he's a crazy fucker in adventure, so nobody will question it with him. And, everybody wonders, Jim Cameron's been working with DARPA for like 10 years. He was working on holographic movie technology with them 10 years ago. So it wouldn't be a stretch to think that this may actually be, a front. The mining of minerals is a front for the actual plan to go and figure out how to redirect asteroids or things that may be extinction level event possibilities. These guys will do anything to make sure their power structure stays in place. I mean, what happens if we will have 12-strand DNA activation and start to resonate and become light beings, and the material world goes away and they can't control it anymore? They don't want that to happen. There's a great documentary called the Cygnus Mystery. It's on YouTube. You got to sit through some bunch of god-awful commercials when you watch it. It sucks, but it's worth watching. I've talked about it here on the show before. One of the things it talks about in that film is this cosmic radiation that seemed to emanate from the Cygnus star system. And many, I think it was Göbekli Tepe, I think was one of them that was built, where the people went underground. The Anasazi Indian stuff, where they went inside. And these cosmic rays that are still detectable to this day seem to have jump-started our evolution. And that's another one of the things that I've read about, they say is going to happen here in 2012, is we're going to be bombarded with these cosmic radiation and stardust particles that are going to jumpstart our evolution again. And they're trying to mitigate that. And lo and behold, here it is today in the news. Rays of life. Fossils show that life on Earth blossomed when nearby supernovas bathed our planet in cosmic radiation. Rate of evolution dictated by blasts of cosmic rays. Now, I mean, this is not in the conspiracy realm anymore, folks. And not that it ever was, it just was never brought out to the public. I mean, the studies where they found it going through solid rock came because they were analyzing it in some military establishment like NORAD or something that's in solid rock, you know. Study of fossils shows that life bloomed during periods of intense supernova explosions. Long-term link between galactic events and the climate. Wow. I mean, that's unbelievable. Supernova explosions when stars die are among the most destructive events in the universe, but a new study suggests that the blast wave from supernova might have energized life on our planet. As our sun has spun through the spiral arms of our galaxy, the Milky Way, it has passed near exploding stars, being bathed with cosmic rays which cause life to explode all over our planet. When supernova explode, life has prospered. The evolution of life mirrors the evolution of the galaxy, says Professor Henrik Sesmark of the Technical University of Denmark. Professor Henrik Sesmark of the Technical University of Denmark says that when a supernova is close enough to the solar system, galactic cosmic rays wash over the Earth. As our sun has traveled through the Milky Way, different star clusters have caused life to blossom. Explosions in the Pleiades, for instance, caused diversity in undersea creatures called ammonites, often seen in fossils. I got my sister a necklace that had one of those ammonite things in it at Moundville. And that's just interesting. I mean, that's they're getting blasted with these cosmic rays, and that's, the ammonite started to evolve into, higher forms of life. Professor Svensmark looked back through 500 million years of geological and astronomical data and considered the proximity of the sun to the supernova as it moves around our galaxy, the Milky Way. Isn't that an interesting number? He looked through 500 million years of geological and astronomical data because that's the estimation they put on the rock wall, 500 million years old. Professor Svensmark was able to deduce how the rate at which supernova explode near the solar system varied over time. Comparing this with a geological record, he found that changing the frequency of nearby supernovas seemed to have strongly shaped the conditions for life on Earth. Whenever the sun and its planets have visited regions of enhanced star formation in the Milky Way galaxy, where exploding stars are most common, life has prospered. Professor Svensmark remarks in the paper, the biosphere seems to contain a reflection of the sky, in that the evolution of life mirrors the evolution of the galaxy. And the new work, The Diversity of Life Over the Last 500 Million Years, seemed remarkably well explained by tectonics affecting the sea level together with variations in the supernova rate and virtually nothing else. So the supernova rate, more than anything else they can measure, had the most to do with the evolution of life. To obtain this result on the variety of life or biodiversity, he followed the changing fortunes of the best recorded fossils. They are from invertebrate animals in the sea, such as shrimps and octopuses, or the extinct trilobites and ammonites. They tended to be richest in their variety when continents were drifting apart and sea levels were high, and less varied when the land masses gathered 250 million years ago into the supercontinent called Pangaea, and the sea level was lower, but this geophysical effect was not the whole story. When it is removed from the record of biodiversity, what remains corresponds closely to the changing rate of nearby stellar explosions, with the variety of life being greatest when supernovae are plentiful. A likely reason, according to Professor Svensmark, is that the cold climate associated with high supernova rates brings a greater variety of habitats between polar and equatorial regions, while the associated stresses of life prevent the ecosystems from becoming too set in their ways. He also notices that the most geological periods seem to begin and end with either an upturn or a downturn in the supernova rate. The changes in typical species that define a period in the transition from one to the next could then be the result of a major change in the astrophysical environment. Life's prosperity or global bioproductivity can be tracked by the amount of carbon dioxide in the air at various times in the past as set out in the geological record. Dr. Svensmark's research also shows that supernova can have unpredictable and catastrophic effects on climate, with sea levels dropping by up to 25 meters due to extreme cold. This has puzzled geologists for decades. The data also supports the idea of a long-term link between cosmic rays and climate, with these climatic changes underlying the biological effects. And that's what a lot of people believe. That's what a lot of the 2012 crowd believes, that we're going to get hammered with these solar particles in 2012 because of the alignments and because of the sun, and that it's going to jumpstart our evolution. And it's saying it right here in scientific data that there is a long-term link between cosmic rays and climate change. So it very well may be true. The climate change we're going through because of the sun, these cosmic rays. I mean, maybe that's what the chemtrails are about. Maybe they're there to filter out those cosmic rays to keep us from having our evolution jump-started. I mean, now that I think about that, and I've not really ever thought that before, goddamn, that sounds like a real good fucking candidate, doesn't it? Maybe that's why you always see these orbs and these things flying around monitoring chemtrails. They're trying to figure out, why in the fuck you would be trying to stop this. And compare with the temperature variation seen on short timescales, as a consequence of the sun's influence on the influx of cosmic rays, the heating and cooling of Earth due to cosmic rays varying with the prevailing supernova rate have been far larger. The director of DTU Space, Professor Ilgil Frisk Christensen, comments, quote, "When this inquiry into the effects of cosmic rays from supernova remnants began 16 years ago, we never imagined that it would lead us so deep into time or into so many aspects of the Earth's history. The connection to evolution is a culmination of this work." That very well could be it, couldn't it? I mean, maybe that is what the chemtrails are all about. They're trying to mitigate these cosmic rays that will jumpstart our evolution so they can keep their control system intact. But I put the link to that story in there. Just another unbelievable story. Let's see what else we have here tonight. We talked about the meteors, the big ones. There's been giant meteors, fireballs exploding all over the place. So I'm not going to cover the stories. We talked about that with the sun thing earlier. But yeah, that's, I think, is a direct result of the sun activity. There was an article here. Let me find it. I had it earlier today. It's really good. It was like a blog post or something on Daily Mail. Give me just a minute to find it. Yeah, there it is. This was published on April 21st this year. The graphic from the National Astronomical Observatory of Japan looks like pumpkins to me, but it seems to show something is up with the sun. That big yellow thing in the sky that global warmingists insist has nothing to do with the Earth's temperature? Really, that is what they believe. It is all here on Earth, and it is only the carbon dioxide that man produces that changes the temperature. According to the National Astronomical Observatory of Japan, the sun may be reversing its polarity. Much to the delight of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle fans, apparently the sun's North Pole and South Pole swap, being positive and negative. Our bipolar main source of heat. The Earth itself also has a hot core that affects the Earth's temperature, but don't tell anyone. But the sun's North Pole may flip next month without the South flipping, and that messes things up. Oh, I didn't know about that. So they're trying to ensure. Okay, I get it now. Then somebody again, whether it's extraterrestrials or whether it's us doing it in secret, which I think is good a possibility as any of them. They're trying. I get it now. They're trying to ensure that that if one pole flips, the other one flips. Because if both of them flip, then we're all right. If one flips, the other one doesn't. Apparently, there's problems. I don't know what yet. We'll keep on reading here. The sun's north pole may flip next month without the south flipping, and that messes things up. Officials of the National Astronomical Observatory of Japan and the Riken Research Foundation said on April 19th that the activity of sunspots appeared to resemble a 70-year period in the 17th century in which the London's Thames River froze over and cherry blossoms bloomed later than usual in Kyoto. In that era, known as the Maunder minimum, temperatures are estimated to have been about 2.5 degrees lower than in the second half of the 20th century. The Japanese study found that the trend of current sunspot activity is similar to records from that period. The researchers also found signs of unusual magnetic changes in the sun. Normally, the sun's magnetic field flips about once every 11 years. In 2001, the sun's magnetic north pole, which was in the northern hemisphere, flipped to the south. While scientists had predicted that the next flip would begin from May 2013, the solar observation satellite Hinode found that the north pole of the sun had started flipping about a year earlier than expected. There was no noticeable change in the south pole. If that trend continues, the North Pole could complete its flip in May of 2012, but create a four-pole magnetic structure in the sun with two new poles created in the vicinity of the equator of our closest star. What? A four-pole magnet structure in the sun with two poles created in the vicinity of the equator of our closest star? They're going to do like they did in 2010 A Space Odyssey, or not 2000 Space Odyssey, but the year we make contact. They fucking turn Jupiter into a second sun or something? Jeez. Stuff happens, right? Except this stuff was not expected to happen. We are supposed to be in the midst of a high sunspot activity time, the type that coincides with global warming. The year 2012 might not be such a good one if you happen to own a satellite or a lot of shares in the electricity generating business. That's because 2012 is being forecast as the peak of one of the next sunspot cycles, and physicists are saying it's going to be an active one. Sunspots are regions of the solar surface that are darker and cooler than their surroundings, caused by fluctuations in the intense magnetic field that surrounds our closest star. Sunspot activity increases and decreases on an 11-year cycle. Intense sunspot activity brings with it solar storms, events where charged particles stream off the surface of the sun with the potential to wreak havoc with our planet's upper atmosphere. During solar storms, satellites can be damaged, power transmission can be disrupted, and the skies light up with auroras. There are also links between sunspot activity and the climate. Researchers at the National Center for Atmospheric Research in Boulder, Colorado, have used a new model of the sun's interior to refine predictions of future sunspot activity. By using data going back over a century, the scientists were able to determine that the sun's magnetic field has a memory of around 20 years. This model was able to predict the past 6 cycles with around 97% accuracy and has led to revised predictions about the next cycle, number 24. According to Massimi Dikpati, one of the physicists who gave a press conference yesterday, the next sunspot cycle will be between 30 and 50% stronger than the current cycle, with a peak in activity in this year of 2012. Armed with a 6-year warning, mission planners at NASA, satellite controllers, and engineers in the power industry ought to have ample time to take this looming danger into account. Except, of course, that did not happen. Enjoy our stormy sun while it lasts. While our star drops out of its latest sunspot activity cycle, the sun is most likely going into hibernation, scientists announced today. Oh, so it's going into hibernation. So they're probably trying to kickstart it now, aren't they? 3 independent studies of the sun's insides, surface, and upper atmosphere all predict that the next solar cycle will be significantly delayed, if it happens at all. Normally, the next cycle would be expected to start roughly around 2020. The combined data indicate that we may soon be headed into what's known as a grand minimum, a period of unusually low solar activity. The predicted solar sleep is being compared to the last grand minimum on record, which occurred between 1645 and 1715. So they're probably trying to kickstart it, aren't they? Kickstart my heart. Known as the Marauder Minimum, the roughly 70-year period coincided with the coldest spell of the Little Ice Age, when European canals regularly froze solid and alpine glaciers encroached on mountain villages. In summary, we do not know. Making the type of changes that the global warming crowd wants actually might prove to endanger the world by making us more vulnerable to a drop in solar activity. So there you go. There's definitely something going on with the sun. They've definitely known about it for quite some time, and I think there's very good evidence to support that idea that these UFOs, or whatever they are, these things that the unidentified things that we're seeing near the sun, may not be, and most likely probably aren't extraterrestrials, but more like some, top secret, hidden, classified technology where they can go and either kickstart the sun or mitigate it if they need to. These guys aren't playing around. And with what we already know about chemtrails and HAARP and the rest of this stuff, doesn't surprise me in the least that they are attempting to jumpstart the sun. We got a lot more news for you here tonight. Hopefully we'll have time to do some reading tonight, too. I don't know. We'll see what happens. But we're going to take a break, come back, and after we come back, we'll blow through some more news and hopefully get into some reading tonight as well. The Global Reality. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Global Reality right here on the Global Reality Radio Network with me, your host, Josh Reeves. Thanks for being with us tonight. This morning, however you want to look at it, for another late-night Moonbat edition of the broadcast. Lots more news for you here tonight in the show. Also, try to get back to doing some reading as well. I've really been enjoying this series of reading. I've been really lucky, for the most part, I think, with most of the selections. A lot of these have been chosen by our listeners. In fact, I think, to be honest with you, I think this is the first book I've read probably, since probably going back to like Finding of the Third Eye, which I think I did in like 2008 or something. The rest of the books I've done have been all on suggestion of the listeners, and I think that what's funny about that, and I'm not mad, but I think is that I read a lot of these books at the suggestion of the listeners, and I'm glad that they suggested those books for me to read, and I'm glad that I did read them. But it's just kind of funny because I'm the guy that takes all the shit. You know what I mean? I'm the guy that everybody asks, why are you reading that crap? Blah, blah, blah. I'm the guy who loses supporters and donators because they don't like the content of the show anymore. When really all I was trying to do is provide a service to the listeners and give the listeners what they asked for. But there have been a lot of people out there who don't like my show anymore because they don't like these subjects. And a lot of people are scared of this stuff. They're scared of these deeper elements. A lot of people get to they have the little comfort zone. They get to their comfortable spot, and they're willing to go so far, and they're not willing to go any further. And I've always known that there was more. And I will always know that no matter how much we think we know, there will always be more. On that moment when you cut yourself off and think that you know everything there is to know, or there's no other, nothing else new over the mountain, that's when they've got you. So our goal for our rest of the week on our fundraiser at theglobalreality.com is $200. If we can get that in by tomorrow, that'd be fantastic. We could get the rest of what we need to get handled for the operating costs of the month. If you haven't donated, then now would be the time to do it. Hey, if we get in 8 people that donate $25 each, I think I believe that there are 8 people out in the listening audience. Not 1, not 2, not 3, not 6, but 8. I believe that there are at least 8 people out there who will hear this broadcast either now live or later on an archive tomorrow, or while you're sitting in your desk at your cubicle at work right now, or in your car on the way to your job or whatever you're doing, or, listening at home, taking care of the kids. I believe there are 8 people out there in our listening audience who could donate $25 to our show by tomorrow and help us meet our goal. I believe that. Prove me right. Let's get back into our news here tonight. Did a UFO cause the Pakistan 737 air crash? Reports suggest that the pilot may have been buzzed by a triangular-shaped object before the accident. Well, isn't that interesting? Unconfirmed reports suggest that the cause of the Bahia Air Boeing 737 crash in Pakistan last Friday may have been a UFO sighting by the pilot. A Russian news report on the crash posted on YouTube incorporates footage of 3 mysterious lights moving in formation, leading to speculation in the UFO community that the blame for this tragic accident may lie with some sort of extraterrestrial craft. There are rumors that the pilot may have been buzzed by the object and complained to the control tower at Islamabad airport as he made his approach, according to Gather News. The official line, however, is that the passenger jet's fuel tanks exploded midair during a heavy thunderstorm, killing all 127 people on board. You know what? That just doesn't happen. You do realize that they have these metal tines and things on airplanes. They've had them forever. Where if lightning strikes the airplane, it goes to these parts of the airplane where it diffuses it so it won't blow the plane out of the air. But their official story is the fuel tanks exploded midair during a heavy thunderstorm. Yeah, something stinks about that. In a Mayday call made moments before the disaster, the pilot of the stricken jet reported a fuel tank had caught fire, that the plane was out of control. He asked controllers at Islamabad Benazir Bhutto International Airport. I didn't know they named an airport after her. Jeez. I guess that's what happens when you get whacked. Isn't that what happens? I mean, that's what we do over here in the United States, right? If you get whacked, we name something after you. Or we put you on a, $5 bill or something, or name a building after you, the Honorable Jared Leto Bridge. Well, nobody will be jumping off that anytime soon. As he prepared for an emergency landing, saying he could see the roofs of homes but not the runway. Wreckage from the 32-year-old jet, which first saw service with British Airways, was scattered across a wide area in fields about 3 miles from the airport. A report by Pakistan Civil Aviation Authority said the aircraft has been properly positioned, and as it had began its approach but suddenly descended to 200 feet, while still traveling at 300 miles an hour, then descended a further 50 feet more before its tanks exploded. Pakistan's Prime Minister Yusuf Raza Gilani has ordered a judicial investigation into the accident. Given the violent storms lashing Islamabad during the accident, some experts have speculated that wind shear, sudden changes in wind that can lift or smash an aircraft into the ground during landing, may have been a factor. Okay, but you just said that it can lift or smash an aircraft into the ground during landing. This exploded in the fuel tanks exploded in midair. Wind shear is not going to cause fuel tanks to explode in midair, especially not on a fucking Boeing. Otherwise, we'd have exploding planes all over the place because wind shear is something you have to deal with in aviation. So, again, this just stinks to high heaven, doesn't it? There's holes in this shit like Swiss cheese. Speaking at the scene of the crash, Interior Minister Reman Malik said that Farouk Bahoa, head of Bahoa Air, had been put on the exit control list, meaning he can't leave Pakistan. Such a ban is often put on someone suspected or implicated in a criminal case. Now, I'm pausing because does that not seem odd? Think about that. The head of the airline can't leave Pakistan? Such a ban is often put on someone suspected or implicated in a criminal case. They just made the case for why this was either something to do with the thunderstorm, something to do with the weather, or something to do with wind shear, right? Why would the owner of the airline, who doesn't have anything to do with the manufacturing of the airplane or any of that stuff, why would the head of the airline not be allowed to leave the country? Well, he's at the top chain of the food chain, the chain of command for that airline, didn't he? So what really happened to that plane, and if there was really a UFO, he's going to be the guy to know. They're not letting him leave the goddamn country because they don't want him running his mouth about what really happened here. I mean, it's unbelievable article, folks. Unbelievable article because, I mean, as you're hearing, as I'm reading this, I mean, you can just hear him pick out. I mean, this is, somebody's lying here. You don't hold somebody as if they're a suspect in a crime. Well, number one, no crime has been committed. And number two, you've just went on and on about the case at hand here being caused by, natural weather events. Yeah, this guy knows damn well what's going on. And they're afraid he's going to open his mouth. Malik said it is being said that the aircraft was pretty old. So it's been ordered to investigate thoroughly the airworthiness of the boat. Oh, right. So what they'll do is, since he's the top swinging dick at the airline, they say this was a case of negligence. This was an old aircraft. They say he was the guy that was in charge of deciding what aircraft flew and which ones didn't. Shebang, they've got their fall guy. Boom, it's wrapped up nicely into a case of, an old aircraft that was past its time, and nobody ever thinks the wiser. And they'll get him off if he keeps his mouth shut, but if he speaks his mind and tells anybody about the pilot seeing that triangular-shaped craft, well, he's not going to get off so easy. I mean, this is a clear, cut and dried case. I mean, these guys do this stuff all the time. You can tell absolutely that's what this is, and that's exactly how this is going to go down. Humans are willing to blame robots for causing harm. It's from Live Science. A talking robot car that ran over a child or a battlefield robot that shot innocent civilians might never be taken to court, but a new experiment shows how likely it will be for humans to place blame on their mechanical servants as though the robots were people. The social psychology experiment, which involved a robot programmed to tell a lie, showed college students holding the robot morally accountable for its actions more often than not. The college students did not consider RoboV to be as a morally accountable on a human level, but they judged the robot as being somewhere between a human and a vending machine. Many became noticeably upset and confrontational when the robot lied about how many items the student had found in a scavenger hunt, preventing them from winning a $20 prize. Yeah, so what do? You start beating the shit out of it like your Funyuns are stuck in there. You motherfucker, give me my Funyuns! That's too funny. I mean, if something doesn't work, generally you kick the shit out of it once, it'll start working for you. I found computers that way. I've had to do that with computers before. Shit you not, I've had computers wouldn't work right. It wouldn't boot up. They'd boot up, and they just, power themselves off. And I kicked the shit out of it real hard. Fire right up. About 65% of the 40 students said RoboV was at least somewhat morally accountable for lying. There have been a handful of accidental deaths at robotic hands so far, and in none of the cases was the blame placed on the robot. But the experiment suggests that future humanoid robots capable of socially interacting with humans will face moral judgments. So they're trying to determine. This is for the mechanized robot battlefield is why they're doing these tests and psychology tests. Because they want to find out if people will blame the robot for, killing their child or something, or will blame the person who programmed the robot. See, this is all about giving these elite people who run this world more of what they crave oh so much in everything they do, and that is always, yes, plausible deniability. Because, see, if they have, when they have thugs going around doing their bidding like they do now, regular human thugs, if one of them commits, or violates somebody's civil liberties or something, and they get reported and there's evidence of it, well, then there's going to be action, right? But see, with a robot, if they get robots to do their biddings and get robots to be their thugs, then there's no accountability. Then they just say, oh, it was the robot, it malfunctioned, it wasn't supposed to blow that 8-year-old's brains out for thinking he was a car robber when he wasn't. Blah, blah, blah. See, it's zero accountability. So it's interesting that they're now doing these tests to see where people will assign blame when it comes to the moral output of a robot. I mean, that should give you a pretty good indicator of where we're at now as a society when they're doing tests like that. What seemed like evidence of prehistoric cosmic impacts might just be clumps of earthy dust, findings that shed light on the heated debate over whether these impacts triggered recent mass extinctions, researchers say, is from Live Science. A giant cosmic collision with Earth in an asteroid or comet is now the leading culprit behind the mass extinction that ended the age of the dinosaurs about 65 million years ago. However, there is much controversy regarding whether a cosmic explosion or something else caused a more recent mass extinction, the one that wiped out most of the large mammals in North America, as well as the so-called Clovis people about 12,900 years ago. Evidence that the researchers have put forth to support this younger Dryas impact hypothesis includes elevated levels of the metal iridium, which is common in asteroids, but normally uncommon on Earth's surface. Iridium is one of the most sought-after. I mean, that's like unobtainium in Avatar for the elite, because supposedly they have the technology to make some sort of massive energy device using iridium. And, boy, there's a ton of it underneath Port-au-Prince in Haiti where they had the Haiti quake there a couple of years ago. Massive amounts of gold underneath there. I mean, they wiped out the UN. They've had a wide open back door in Haiti while they had, everybody over there posing as bringing relief to Haiti. Dude, they're over there raping Haiti wide open right now because there's no regulation and no government. I talk about that in the Reality of Illusion film, Operation Haiti Quake, which, of course, YouTube has taken or has flagged. It's out there on the net somewhere. I plan on doing a re-edit of that at some point. YouTube's just getting worse and worse every day. I'm getting so tired of it. Evidence that the researchers have put forth support this Younger Dryas impact hypothesis includes elevated levels of the metal iridium, which is common in asteroids but normally uncommon on Earth's surface. Other hints that an asteroid was the culprit inside magnetic spherules and titaniomagnetic grains. But to help resolve this controversy, scientists looked at black mats of Earth-containing so-called impact markers, signs of cosmic collisions in layers of sediment laid down between 6,000 and 40,000 years ago. These were deposited within spring-fed marshes in the southwestern United States and the Atacama Desert of northern Chile. The researchers discovered high concentrations of apparent impact markers at 10 of the 13 sites with black mats that they surveyed. However, a number of these sediments do not date to the Younger Dryas period. The fact that these markers are present in sediments of different ages from various locations suggests that they were not produced by a single catastrophic event such as an impact. Instead, these markers were created by naturally occurring terrestrial processes. Specifically, they may have been caused by accumulation and concentration of dust, a common phenomenon known to the wetlands. The wet ground and dense plant cover found in those areas makes them effective dust traps. So what it seems is that whatever they found, and whatever happened during that period that caused an extinction level event, whatever they found, they're trying to steer what it is, the widely held belief of what it is and what happened, back towards something else, away from what it is they found. So I don't know what's going on with this. I don't know. I mean, maybe somebody else could research this and look more into it, but I mean, it's just crystal clear when you read that article that, yeah, whatever they found pertaining to this, it seems to have scared the piss water out of them pretty good. No, kind of along those same lines, experts are trying to figure out what a fossil dubbed Godzillus used to be. The 150-pound fossil recovered last year at northern Kentucky is more than 6 feet long and 3 feet wide. To the untrained eye, it looks like a bunch of rocks or concrete blob. Experts are trying to figure out or determine whether it was an animal, a mineral, or some form of plant life from a time when the Cincinnati region was underwater. Scientists at a Geological Society of America meeting viewed it on Tuesday at the Dayton Convention Center in Ohio. We are looking for people who might have an idea of what it is, said Ben DiTillo, an assistant professor of geology at Indiana University, Purdue University, Fort Wayne. Scientists say the fossil is 450 million years old. University of Cincinnati geologist Carl Brett said it is the largest fossil ever extracted from that area in the Cincinnati region. This is the ultimate cold case. Like Godzilla, it's a primordial beast that found its way to the modern era. It's some kind of, prehistoric ooze or something, some kind of, blob. But it's interesting that this was found in Ohio where, of course, all the mounds are and separate mounds are and how many giant skeletons they found there. Ohio, Indiana, man, there's all kinds of stuff. Kentucky, West Virginia, Alabama, Georgia, Oklahoma, Tennessee, Louisiana, Arkansas. I mean, that's a hotbed for mounds and stuff. Boy, it's become crystal clear what the TSA is. We've known since the beginning they were goons, but I've talked about before one of the things about 9/11 and cracking down on the airline industry. One of the reasons why they pulled off 9/11 was to be able to have more control of airports to cut down the drug trade that was cutting into their drug trade and their profits of the drugs they ship in and distribute. And it seems that's been proven right because these TSA thugs have now been caught letting drugs pass through and taking, cash to do it. Multiple airport screeners have been arrested for allegedly taking handsome bribes to look the other way while loads of illegal drugs slip through security at Los Angeles International Airport, federal officials announced today. 2 current and 2 former officials at the Transportation Security Administration were arrested in the last 48 hours in connection with at least 5 incidents from February 2011 to July 2011, in which on-duty screeners took payments of up to $2,400 to allow suitcases filled with drugs to pass unimpeded through X-ray machines at LAX. According to Baruch's office, the scheme was uncovered after a member of the alleged conspiracy accidentally went through the wrong security line and was busted by TSA screeners who were not in on the plot. In another case, a TSA screener unknowingly arranged with a confidential source for the Drug Enforcement Administration to receive $1,200 for a shipment of methamphetamine to pass through security. So, that's the thing. They don't want anybody cutting in on their profits. DEA likes their profit right where it is. The Drug Enforcement Agency. You're enforcing drugs? Yeah, they're enforcing their drugs on us so they can make that big Skrilla. I've read several stories in the past, 5 or 6 years pertaining to mysterious diseases that are affecting anything that lives outside, animals, that live outside. And all this stuff that I've read, they found, for instance, hunters have had, have found high levels of barium in their meat, in their deer meat and stuff like that. Animals have been, have died off, and they've found barium and chemtrail stuff in all kinds of animals. And I don't know if you guys have ever noticed this before, but I've noticed on certain times of chemtrail days, it won't even be hot outside. I'm talking about times of year when it's not even hot. You will feel like you're dehydrated, like you have all of the water and electrolytes just sucked out of your body. Now, I understand when that happens in the summertime, or it's, like it is here in Dallas, 115, 120 fucking degrees. You're sweating balls. You're going to lose water. You're going to lose. I understand it, but I'm talking about on days when there are chemtrails, when it's not the summertime and it's not hot outside. And I've felt the effects of this. I know other people that have felt the effects of this. You'll feel like you have all the water sucked out of you, like you're just dehydrated, even though you haven't done any activity to be dehydrated like that. And I'm wondering if that's what this is that now they're finding in frogs. And it says it's a fungus, and that's one of the many things they found in some of this chemtrail analysis. They found many funguses. A fungus that is torn through frog populations worldwide kills by dehydrating the hapless amphibians, disrupting electrolyte balance, and causing cardiac arrest. I just can't help but think this is connected to the chemtrail phenomenon. It's never been known before, and it's just popped out of nowhere, and everybody just goes, I don't know what could be causing this. We know damn well what's causing this. Aerosol spraying, chemtrails. Look up. If you've never seen chemtrails, you need to look up. The fungus Bacteridium dendrobotitis, which is responsible for the chytromycosis disease, has caused massive frog death on a global scale, threatening many species with extinction. When the fungus reached the Sierra Nevada mountains in California, it slashed mountain yellow-legged frog populations by more than 75% in only about 4 years. The frog is now listed as endangered. Laboratory experiments had established how the fungus operates, but a new study is the first to observe the disease in action in the wild. San Francisco State University biologist Vance Vredenberg and colleagues collected blood samples and skin swabs from more than 100 yellow-legged frogs over the course of summer of 2004, the year the outbreak hit the Sierra region. When 2004 was a bad year for chemtrails. My God. It's really rare to be able to study. By the way, 2004 was when there was the year I first started keeping track of chemtrail activity and what times a year you would see it at the most, you know. It's really rare to be able to study physiology in the wild like this at the exact moment of a disease outbreak. The findings confirmed what researchers had seen in the lab. Infection by the fungus seems to disrupt the frog's balance of fluids and electrolytes, which are minerals found in the blood that are crucial for muscle function, proper blood, pH, and hydration. The mode of death discovered in the lab seems to be what is actually happening in the field, and it's understanding that it is key to doing something about it in the future. So I don't know if any of you out there have ever felt that, water being sucked out of you feeling from the chemtrails. But this made total sense to me as soon as I read this. I was like, my God, that's that chemtrail thing that it does to you. Last fragments from the magical Egyptian Book of the Dead from 1420 BC found after century-long search by archaeologists. The last missing pages from a supposedly magical Book of the Dead from an Egyptian priest, Amenhotep, have been found after a century-long search in a museum in Queensland. British Museum Egyptologist Dr. John Taylor said he was floored by the discovery of the 100 fragments. It is the end of a worldwide search by archaeologists for the papyrus scroll, which supposedly contains spells to guide spirits into the afterlife. Well, that's just fucking fantastic that the guys have their goddamn hands on this now, isn't it? Great. Would have rather the motherfucker stay hidden than these cocksuckers get their hands on it. Because they want to open up the gates, and they want to go through, and they want to leave everybody else behind. They don't want to bring all this stuff to the world. They want all these secrets so they can keep it for themselves. And that's why we got to fight these fuckers. That's why I'm doing what I can to do this. Make these films and get this information out there. Mrs. Bates said British Museum curator and world-renowned Egyptologist Dr. John Taylor had stumbled across a section of the manuscript as a part of a Queensland museum display. After spotting the piece, Dr. Taylor was shown the other 100-plus fragments held in the museum stores and was floored by what he had uncovered. These unsuspecting papyrus pieces from the missing part of a highly historically valuable Book of the Dead that belonged to the chief builder of the Temple of Amun, Amenhotep. Sections of this precious manuscript have laid scattered across the globe for 100 years, with some of the pieces held safely in the collections of British Museum, Boston Museum of Fine Arts, and the Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York. See, again, they've known these have been spread all over all over the place in different museums, but until now, they haven't had the need to bring them all together. Notice how this is going on all across the board when it comes to these ancient antiquities? They're trying to get all these things in one place now instead of having them scattered together, because they're trying to glean information about some sort of ancient technology, I assume. However, archaeologists have been unable to piece together in its entirety and have long been looking for the missing section to complete the story of this important Egyptian's figure journey into the afterlife. The Book of the Dead is an Egyptian manuscript up to 20 meters in length of magical spells written on papyrus that were commissioned by families upon the death of a loved one to guide them on their hazardous journey into the afterlife. Amenhotep's manuscript is a particularly significant one, as it is an early example of a Book of the Dead manuscript that has several unusual features found only on 4 or 5 other manuscripts ever found. These include borders featuring 5 pointed stars and sun discs along the top and bottom. Oh, so that's the key there. See, now we've got celestial locations, celestial stars and planets and things. All right. And a large inscription in one line on the back of the papyrus, all of which indicates a person of considerable rank, wealth, and importance. Ms. Bates said the Queensland Museum sections were donated and have been meticulously kept in the stores of the museum for almost 100 years. And it's so gratifying to find that it is our own Queensland Museum, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, they want to bring all this stuff together and for some reason, and they're going to be hoarding this all for themselves. Don't expect them to be sharing. That's all I'm saying. Sharon is Karen, but they're not going to be sharing any of this with us. Forget gold, there's space rocket in their hills. Meteor hunter finds 4.5 billion-year-old asteroid fragments worth 10 times the price of precious metal. A meteor hunter who has spent 2 decades searching for unremarkable-looking lumps of space rock has struck rich after discovering 2 marble-sized meteorites worth 10 times the price of gold. The tiny stones found in Northern California's Sierra foothills were part of a giant fireball that exploded with about 1/3 of the force of the atomic bomb that was dropped on Hiroshima at the end of World War II, scientists said. Robert Ward of Prescott, Arizona, found the first of the nuggets on Tuesday at around 10 a.m. between a baseball field and a park on the edge of the town of Lotus in California. The rocks each weigh around 10 grams, or the weight of 2 nickels, said John Wasson, a longtime professor and expert in meteorites at UCLA's Institute of Geophysics and Planetary Physics. According to gold gram bars, at today's gold price, the 2 minuscule meteor chunks would be worth a combined total in excess of $1,000. Talking of his discovery, Mr. Ward said that he instantly knew he had found a rare meteorite known as CM, carbonaceous chondrite, based in part on the fusion crusts from the atmospheric entry on one side of the rock. He has 2 rocks that he suspects were part of the same small meteorite that split on impact. He said the discovery was a thrilling moment, adding it as one of the oldest things known to man and one of the rarest types of meteorite there is. It contains amino acids and organic compounds that are extremely important to science. Experts say the rock fragments come from a flaming meteor which dates from the early formation of the solar system around 4 to 5 billion years ago. The speeding meteor, which was the size of a minivan, announced its entry into Earth's atmosphere with a boom early on Sunday. It could be seen from Sacramento, California to Las Vegas and other parts of northern Nevada. You notice how they for most of this article, they make it sound like this is old, and this is old and old and old, and oh, this is old, and it's been there forever, and he dug it up. And then they wait till you get down later in the article to let you know, oh, but by the way, this is that one that crashed the other day. Something's fishy. God damn, something's fishy about this, too. It probably weighed 154,300 pounds, and all you got out of it was a 1-inch size rock. Well, there's got to be more out there, boys. Shit, we got any listeners in California? Go dig some of this stuff up and sell it, man. We'll fund some movies like it. I'd go out there myself and dig for that shit if I could. Set sail for Saturn. Daring new proposal to float a boat on planet's chilly moon Titan. It's perhaps the most daring naval mission ever undertaken by mankind, sailing on the methane seas of Saturn's icy moon Titan. A new NASA mission with the UK scientists on board aims to explore these oceans by parachuting a vessel into the seas of Titan just less than 1 billion miles from Earth. And Titan has seas made of oil. And with all this talk of mining asteroids now, you can bet they're going to be trying to get to Titan to get all that natural gas and all that oil. See, they want to continue their fossil fuel supremacy into the future. And if ExxonMobil can get the technology to go out and get oil somewhere else to bring back here to put in your car, they're going to do it, goddammit. Anything they can do to keep that empire going as long as they possibly can. Huge green cloud over Moscow has terrified Russians tweeting for their lives. Anxious Russians have been bombarding Twitter today with fears about an ominous green cloud looming over Moscow. Having awoken to the bizarrely tinged skies, talk of chemical spills and ash clouds soon dominated the site, while some even connected the unusual scenes to today's anniversary of the nuclear disaster in Chernobyl. But as suggestions of evacuations emerged and thousands of nervy phone calls reach the Capitol's bosses, it appears there is no need for panic. Because far from paranormal, the onset of war, according to officials in Moscow, is nothing but pollen. Right, pollen. Again, one of those events that happens where, it's never happened before, but yet they know immediately what it is. Don't you think that if it had turned yellow like this before, they would be aware of this? Look at this. Let me drop this in the chat room for you. Somebody's getting hit with biological agents, especially over there in Russia. It's probably some sort of fucking saltpeter or something. But look at that. They're gassing them out over there and telling them it's pollen. No, don't worry, it's pollen. It shaves 40 fucking years off your life, but no, it doesn't. It doesn't. It's just pollen. Drink vodka, work in salt mine. Have sex with Natasha. I've talked about many times the dangers of people who get into, quote unquote spiritual practices and get into some of this stuff, and they get sucked into it. People get so sucked into these, Eastern religions or whatever it may be, because, a lot of them do have really good aspects, but, they can become a cult and they can become as dangerous as anything else is. And, this is a classic case of this. I guess it's just natural selection like everything else. But a woman starved to death after embarking on a spiritual journey, which involved giving up food and water and attempting to exist on nothing but sunlight. I'm sorry. I'm sorry this woman died, but I got to say, if you're stupid enough to believe some fucking guru who tells you that, oh, don't worry, you can become one with the sun, and you will no longer ever have to eat food or drink water ever again. You won't have to drink food or eat water ever again. He's absolutely right, because you're going to be fucking dead. So go ahead and listen to him. All you need is sunlight. You will no longer ever have to eat or drink. You'll just have the sun. Yeah, because the sun, you sit there in the sun long enough and meditate. As my insides are cooking. As my brain is frying, dehydration setting in. I mean, really. I'm sorry. Well, you don't need food or water ever again. It is a myth. It's a myth created by the white man, by the Western culture. We, in India, we never eat. We never eat anything. Bullshit! I saw you eating curry. No, we not eat anything. We only live on the sun. That is a front to fool you, you silly Westerners. We are so clever. The Swiss woman who was in her 50s apparently got the idea after watching the documentary film In the Beginning There Was Light, which features an Indian guru who claims to not have eaten anything in 70 years. Well, Tom Cruise claims he hadn't slept since Top Gun, but I don't believe that either. Jeez Louise. The Zurich newspaper Tages Anzeiger reported Wednesday that the unnamed woman decided to follow the radical fast in 2010. So she hadn't eaten anything until 2010. I guess the sun didn't, sun didn't do her very well. Sucked her up like a goddamn Skeletor. Ugh. Seriously, that's the problem with any religion. Is when they override your common sense, it's time to throw the religion away. And don't confuse religion with spirituality. Oh, I'm done with it tonight. I'm done with the news. Got a few more stories, but we'll save that. Tomorrow's Friday. I am going to try and do a Friday night show tomorrow night, so I hope you'll tune in for that. I'll let you know in the chat room or something if I end up not doing it, but I do have some stuff left tonight, so I should have, but hopefully there'll be some more material tomorrow. But, pending some catastrophic thing happening, or pending I get too busy working on something, another project, which, could always happen. Who knows? I got a lot to do. I got a lot to work on, but there's about a 98% chance we're going to have a show tomorrow night, so we'll just get back into that tomorrow night. We're going to continue on here with our reading of C.W. Ledbetter. We're going to read a little bit here tonight and wrap the show up. The astral plane and scenery, inhabitants, and phenomena, picking up where we left off last night. We might almost look upon the nature spirits as a kind of astral humanity. But for the fact that none of them, not even the highest, possess a permanent reincarnating individuality. Apparently, therefore, one point in which their line of evolution differs from ours is that at a much greater proportion of intelligence is developed before permanent individualization takes place. But of the stages through which they have passed, and those through which they have yet to pass, we can know little. The life periods of the different subdivisions vary greatly, some being quite short, others much longer than our human lifetime. We stand so entirely outside such a life as theirs that it is impossible for us to understand much about its conditions. But it appears on the whole to be a simple, joyous, irresponsible kind of existence, much such as a party of happy children might lead among exceptionally favorable physical surroundings. Though tricky and mischievous, they are rarely malicious unless provoked by some unwarrantable intrusion or annoyance. But as a body, they also partake, to some extent, of the universal feeling of distrust for man, and they generally seem inclined to resent somewhat the first appearance of a neophyte on the astral plane, so that he usually makes their acquaintance under some unpleasant or terrifying form. If, however, he declines to be frightened by any of their freaks, they soon accept him as a necessary evil and take no further notice of him, while some among them may even after a time become friendly and manifest pleasure on meeting him. Some among the many subdivisions of this class are much less childlike and more dignified than those we have been describing. And it is from these sections that these entities, who have sometimes been reverenced under the name of wood gods or village gods, have been drawn. Such entities would be quite sensible of the flattery involved in the reverence shown to them. They would enjoy it and would no doubt be quite ready to do any small service they could in return. The village god is also often an artificial entity, but that variety will be considered in its appropriate place. The adept knows how to make use of the services of the nature spirits when he requires them. But the ordinary magician can obtain their assistance only by processes either of invocation or evocation. That is, either by attracting their attention as a suppliant and making some kind of bargain with them, or by endeavoring to set in motion influences which can compel their obedience. Both methods are extremely undesirable, and the latter is also excessively dangerous, as the operator would arouse a determined hostility which might prove fatal to him. Needless to say, no one studying occultism under a qualified master would ever be permitted to attempt anything of the kind at all. So no bargaining with nature spirits. The Devas. Number 4. The highest system of evolution connected with this earth, so far as we know, is that of the beings whom Hindus call the Devas, and who have elsewhere been spoken of as angels, sons of God, etc. They may, in fact, be regarded as a kingdom lying next above humanity, in the same way as humanity in turn lies above next the animal kingdom. But with this important difference, that while for an animal there is no possibility of evolution through any kingdom but the human, man, when he attains a certain high level, finds various paths of advancement opening before him, of which this great Deva evolution is only one. In comparison with the sublime renunciation of the Nirmankaya, The acceptance of this line of evolution is sometimes spoken of in books as yielding to the temptation to become a god. But it must not be inferred from this expression that any shadow of blame attaches to the man who makes this choice. The path he selects is not the shortest, but it is nevertheless a very noble one. And if his developed intuition impels him towards it, it is probably the one best suited for his capacities. We must never forget that in spiritual as in physical climbing, it is not everyone who can bear the strain of the steeper path. There may be many for whom what seems the slower way is the only one possible. And we should indeed be unworthy followers of the great teachers if we allowed our ignorance to betray us into the slightest thought of despisal towards those who chose different from our own. However confident that ignorance of the difficulties of the future may allow us to feel right now, it is impossible for us to tell at this stage what we shall find ourselves able to do when, after many lives of patient striving, we have earned the right to choose our own future. And indeed, even those who yield to the temptation to become gods have a sufficiently glorious career before them, as will presently be seen. To avoid possible misunderstanding, it may be mentioned, parenthesis, that there is another and entirely evil sense that's sometimes attached in the books to this phrase of becoming a god. But in that form, it certainly could never be any kind of temptation to the developed man, and in any case, it is altogether foreign to our present subject. In Oriental literature, this word deva is frequently used vaguely to mean almost any kind of non-human entity, so that it would often include Dayan Kohans on the one hand and nature spirits and artificial elements on the other. Here, however, its use will be restricted to the magnificent evolution which we are now considering. Though connected with this earth, the devas are by no means confined to it, for the whole of our present chain of 7 worlds is as of one world to them, their evolution being through a grand system of 7 chains. Their hosts have hereto been recruited chiefly from other humanities in the solar system, some lower and some higher than ours, since but a very small portion of our own has yet reached the level at which it is possible for us to join them. But it seems certain that some of their very numerous classes have not passed in their upward progress through any humanity at all comparable to ours. It is not possible for us at present to understand very much about them, but it is clear that what may be described as the aim of their evolution is considerably higher than ours. That is to say, while the object of our human evolution is to raise the successful portion of humanity to a certain degree of occult development by the end of the 7th round, the object of the Deva evolution is to raise their foremost rank to a very much higher level in the corresponding period. For them, as for us, a steeper but shorter path to still more sublime heights lies open to earnest endeavor. But what those heights may be in their case, we can only conjecture. It is, of course, only the lower fringe of this august body that need be mentioned in connection with our subject of the astral plane. Their 3 lower great divisions, beginning from the bottom, are generally called Kamadvayas, Rupadavayas, and Arupadevas, respectively. Just as our ordinary body here, the lowest body possible for us, is the physical, so the ordinary body of a Kamadeva is the astral, so that he stands in somewhat the same position as humanity will do when it reaches planet F. They always say that kind of stuff in fucking theosophical works. You never know what they mean. What do you mean, planet F? He stands in somewhat the same position as humanity will do when it reaches planet F. And they're talking about, being partially in the spirit world and partially in the material reality. What is this planet F that we're going to reach? And so when we reach this planet F, we're going to be partially in the spirit world and partially in the material world? I mean, hell, we're already there, aren't we? I mean, that's what we are. We are spirits in the material world. We're pure energy that's being trapped, soul entrapment in these fragile material bodies. That's just so weird. I don't know what they could mean by that. So the ordinary body of the Kamadeva is the astral, so that he stands in somewhat the same position as humanity will do when it reaches planet F. And he, living ordinarily in the astral body, would go out of it to higher spheres in the Maya Varupa, just as we might in the astral body. While to enter the Karana Shiara would be to him, when sufficiently developed, no greater effort than to form a Maya Varupa is to us. In the same way, the Rupa Deva's ordinary body would be the Maya Varupa. I have no idea what the fuck you're talking about, because they didn't give us any kind of a lead up to this. I mean, they hadn't talked about this before. Now all of a sudden they're throwing these different terms on us, not telling us what they mean. I don't like when they do that. Since his habitat is on the 4 lower of Rupa levels of that spiritual state, which we usually call Divakan, while the Arup Deva belongs to the 3 higher levels of that plane and owns no nearer approach to a body than the Karana Shiara. But for Rupa and Arupa Devas to manifest on the astral plane is an occurrence at least as rare as it is for astral entities to materialize on this physical plane. So we need to do no more than mention them now. As regards the lowest division, the Kamadevas, it would be quite a mistake to think of all of them as immeasurably superior to ourselves, since some have entered their ranks from a humanity in some respects less advanced than our own. Of course, the general average among them is much higher than among us. For all that is actively or willfully evil has long been weeded out from their ranks. But they differ widely in disposition, and a really noble, unselfish, spiritually minded man, many may well stand together higher in the scale of evolution than some of the other ones. Their attention can be attracted by a certain magical evocations. But the only human with which can dominate theirs is that of a certain class of adepts. As a rule, they seem scarcely conscious of us on our physical plane, but it does now and then happen that one of them becomes aware of some human difficulty which excites his pity, and he perhaps renders some assistance, just as any of us would to try and help an animal that we saw in trouble. But it is well understood among them that any interference in human affairs at the present stage is likely to do far more harm than good. Above the Arupa Devas, there are 4 other great divisions, and again, above and beyond the Deva kingdom altogether, stand the great hosts of the Dayan Kahonas. But the consideration of such glorified beings would be out of place in an essay on the astral plane. Though we cannot claim them as belonging exactly to any of our classes, this is perhaps the best place in which to mention those wonderful and important beings, the 4 Devarahas. In this name, the word Deva must not, however, be taken in the sense in which we have been using it, for it is not over the Deva kingdom, but over the 4 elements of earth, water, air, and fire, with their indwelling nature spirits and essences that these 4 kings rule. What the evolution has been through which they rose to their present height of power and wisdom, we cannot tell, save only that it has certainly not passed through anything corresponding to our own humanity. They are often spoke of as the regents of the earth, or angels of the 4 cardinal points, and the Hindu books call them the Chatur Maraharas, giving them names such as Dehirashatra, Virtdahaka, Virtpashaka, and Vaishravana. In the same books, their hosts are called Gandharvas, Kumbhanahanas, Nagas, and Yakshas, respectively. The points of the compass appropriated to each being in corresponding order, east, south, west, and north, and their symbolical colors, white, blue, red, and gold. They are mentioned in The Secret Doctrine by Helena Blavatsky as winged globes and fiery wheels. Yeah, it's a UFO. Hello? It's a Virmana. It's a flying machine. It's like with a fucking spirit in it that animates it, not a physical body. And in the Christian Bible, Ezekiel makes a very remarkable attempt at a description of them in which very similar words are used. Yeah, Ezekiel's wheel. What the fuck was that? It's a goddamn UFO. Ezekiel makes a very remarkable attempt at a description of them in which very similar words are used. References to them are to be found in the symbology of every religion, and they have always been held in the highest reverence as the protectors of mankind. It is they who are the agents of man's karma during his life on earth. They thus play an extremely important part in human destiny. The Lapika, the great karmic deities of the cosmos, weigh the deeds of each personality when the final separation of its principles takes place in the Kamaloka, and gives us, as it were, the mold of an etheric double, exactly suitable to its karma for the man's next birth. But it is the Devarahas who, having command of the elements of which that etheric double must be composed, arrange their proportion so as to fulfill accurately the intention of the Lapika. It is they who also constantly watch all through life to counterbalance the changes perpetually being introduced into man's condition by his own free will and that of those around him, so that no injustice may be done and karma may be accurately worked out, if not in one way, then in another. A learned dissertation upon these marvelous beings will be found in The Secret Doctrine, Volume 1, pages 122 to 126. They are able to take human material forms at will, and several cases are recorded when they have done so. All the higher nature spirits and hosts of artificial elementals act as their agents in the stupendous work they carry out. Yet all the threads are in their hands, and the whole responsibility rests upon them alone. It's not often that they manifest upon the astral plane, but when they do, they are certainly the most remarkable of its non-human inhabitants. A student of occultism will not need to be told that as there are 7 great classes, both nature spirits and elemental essences, there must really be 7, and not 4 Devaharas, but outside the circle of initiation, little is known, and less may be said of the higher 3. So we're stopping there. We'll pick up next time. Number 3, artificial. I guess this will get into the artificial inhabitants of the astral world. So more and more interesting stuff there. TheGlobalReality.com is my website. We need to get $200 in here by tomorrow. I know we've got 8 people out there that can donate $25, or 4 people that can donate $50, whatever. Please help us reach our goal. Please help us stay alive. Thank you so much to everybody out there who has supported us so far. My name is Josh Reeves. I love each and every one of you, and we will see you back here tomorrow, hopefully for the show. You guys have yourselves...